Mm-mm-mm-mm. I see Brian Vines, Joe Gunderman, Mike Watson, Rodney Gunn, and Sam Emmerling is on Zoom with us. Joe, can you hear us? Just want to check, make sure audio is working on Zoom.
Yeah, everything's loud and clear, Chad.
Or Rodney, you're nodding your head. Audio's coming through?
I can hear everybody.
Say again?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Not hearing, they're replug it in.
Yeah, let's try that first. Although I don't know how long that's going to last if it keeps.
Make sure that. Yeah, great. Okay. Joe, can you give me a sound check?
Can everybody hear me on this end?
I can.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good deal. All right. All right, if you Zoom guys can keep it on mute for a little bit, appreciate it until it's your time to talk. I've got 7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to the February Planning Commission meeting. We're going to go ahead and get started with a prayer by Vice Chair Chuck Prater. If you would, please stand. We'll do a prayer and the pledge.
Please join me in prayer. Thank you for this day, Lord. Guide us this night as we discuss the issues that affect all of us in this city. Guide us to discuss and make decisions that will look out for the safety and well-being of our citizens. And lastly, we would ask that those decisions bring glory unto you. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Kim, if we could, let's go ahead and open up the Planning Commission with roll call, please.
Bird. Here. Lowe.
Here.
Young.
Here.
Mowdy. Here. Ward. Here. Prater.
Here.
Irvin.
All right, we got 6 present, 1 missing. You guys, the commissioners have received the meeting minutes from the January Planning Commission meeting. I would like to get approval of those minutes or any corrections or additions. Move to approve from Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Prater. Roll call, please.
Lowe. Yes. Ward. Yes. Bird. Yes. Prater.
Yes.
Mowdy.
All right, let's go ahead and we got 1 item of business in the Board of Adjustment. Let's open that agenda meeting real quick here. Roll call, please, for Board of Adjustment.
Bird. Here. Lowe. Here. Young.
Here.
Mowdy. Ward. Prater.
Here.
Irvin.
All right, same thing, Board of Adjustment meeting minutes from January. Any corrections? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Prater, have a second? Second from Commissioner Ward. Roll call, please.
Lowe.
Yes.
Ward.
Yes.
Bird. Yes. Prater.
Yes.
Mowdy.
All right, first item of business in our Board of Adjustment meeting, Kim.
290 South Rockwood Drive, sign variance.
All right. Laura, do we want to do staff comments first? Yeah, I don't see Courtney on.
All right, this is a sign variance located at 290 South Rockwood Drive. The applicant is asking for a second pylon sign to the off-site multi-tenant pylon sign to be located for the business that is going in, for the strip center that is going in the parking lot of where the Goodwill store, Marshall's is, Maurice is in the shoe department. They're building another building that we've already previously seen as a site plan. They want to add a second off-site multi-tenant sign. So they're asking for a variance on the location to have a second one, as well as the size of the sign, not the height, but the size and area. I believe the applicant should be on the Zoom call with us.
Okay. Do we have the applicant on with us?
Yes, you do. Rodney Gann.
Hey, Rodney. Okay, if you could introduce what you're proposing here.
Sure. On our new development in the parking lot there at the Rockwood Plaza, we've got an annex building that we want to add to that, increase our shopping center another 15,540 square feet. Because it's tucked into a new parcel that will be filed of record through a plat, it does not have any frontage along Rockwood. And what our proposal is to actually get it as close as we can to the existing pylon sign and kind of make that look like it's part of all the shopping center, so we can identify the tenants that are back there other than what we have in the old Walmart building.
Okay, Rodney, so understand that that's your development there with the Goodwill, Marshalls, and all that, and then this annex that's to the bottom of the site plan.
That's
has-
my development as well, yes.
Yeah, that'll be the new wing that's added.
Yes, that's correct. And then, of course, we did Starbucks up at the top as well,
Okay,
which is part of our development. And I also own the development north of that, or just, you can't see it on the screen, but where you have Aspen Dental and all that as well.
so how many potential new lots or new stores will be available to be built in that shell?
Right now, the Pet Supplies Plus is going to take 4 units. And then we'll have 6 additional units that can be placed in there if we lease each one as separate. If not, we may end up with less, but it just depends on how we don't have any other tenants right now for the additional space that's available. The intent was to get Pet Supplies Plus in first, anchor that little strip center. And then we're going to build the spec space that you see there. So the entire center will be built and finished, but it just has some shell space that's available for tenants. The sign itself has been designed to accommodate the remaining spaces. We've taken the larger space for Pet Supplies Plus. That's just because they're the larger tenant in this space. We'll have, maybe if somebody combines 2 spaces, we may have one right underneath Pet Supplies Plus. And then if we have smaller ones, we'll be able to do that on the smaller panels below that. I'm pulling that sign. So you'll see that we've allowed for 6 more in this pylon sign.
Okay, thanks, Rodney, appreciate that. Looking for a little bit of background. I know we're in here for a sign ordinance, but or sign variance, so I wanted to get a little bit of understanding on the scope.
Right.
Okay, is that it from your side, Rodney?
I think that's it. I think that it's pretty self-explanatory what we got going on over here.
Okay.
Just trying to get the tenants that we've are signing up, or the big tenant that's signing up is going to require some kind of signage. And we just felt like this might be the best way to approach it.
Okay. All right, thanks, Rodney. Since this is a public hearing, I want to give the opportunity, anybody here to speak against this item? Anybody on Zoom speak against it? All right. Commissioners, any questions? Is that me doing that?
I have a couple of questions. What is the height of the existing sign? Number 1. And number 2, what is in lieu of having a separate sign, what is the possibility of adding to the existing sign that's already there? Would that fall within our code?
Did you hear that question, Rodney?
I did. We actually, even if we attached it, it won't meet. We'd still have to go for a variance because it's the square footage of both these signs combined. The height of the one that's there, I'm going to guess it's 60 or 70 feet high. The one that you're looking at right now is 40 feet, or right at 41 feet. So another 30, 40 feet, 30 feet easy. So we got to be 70 at the top. And I think that was approved probably back in the day because it's considered a highway sign. That's what I think Starbucks, we had to get a variance on that, but it was a height issue. I'm not too sure, but I think that was another issue. But I think we fell into the highway corridor, and that's what kind of got that approved as well.
Yeah, Commissioner Bird, that was my same comment and thought, was trying to get it incorporated in the Rockwood Plaza sign. It's a part of that overall complex, even though it is a little wing addition to it. My thought was, let's try to modify the existing sign to get it inside it, whether you have to resize and reproportion the other tenant signs, because it's all in Rockwood Plaza. And I think that needs to be a part of keeping all that organized underneath that, whether you take the top off and add this to the top or proportion the pieces that are there. That was my thoughts too, was try to not have another sign there, but try to incorporate it in the existing.
Well,
Other thoughts?
There's another thought too. The proposed sign is almost 40 foot tall. And if you look at the two signs, the existing sign, the advertisement for the existing businesses that are in there is lower to the ground. So would it, if it wasn't possible to add to the existing sign, could that sign be shortened to where it would be more in proportion across with the existing sign? And then therefore maybe lower the square footage of the proposed sign. That's one of the issues also, is it's oversized for the allowable square footage.
Right.
Correct?
Can I address attaching that sign? I did look at that. The problem we have is the footings in the current sign. So we couldn't get it close enough was our problem. We did look at that as well to try to bring that sign. The idea is to get it as close as the current sign as we can. Now, if we need to, we can, and I've talked to Lori about this before, just on a general conversation. If we need to, we can actually put a wall around those two and create like a flower box around it to make them look like they're one large sign. So they don't look so stark as two signs.
Yeah, I think Commissioner Byrd was talking. Everybody still hear me?
I'm here.
Okay. I think Commissioner Byrd was talking about possibly attaching to that existing sign to create another banner sign using the existing black columns that you have there to create some type of one unified structure, one unified sign. So,
well, what you have is the sign that is current has been approved and is part of the leases on all the ones in the back. So start cutting them down. I'd have to go back to each one of those tenants if they would even allow us to do that. I'm not too sure. We didn't do that. We didn't go back to each tenant. Is that address what you're saying? I'm sorry. I want to make sure that I understood.
yeah, I think you answered what you responded to.
No, I've got to say, yeah, it looks like, I mean, when you had your tenants agree with you, it looks like you did all of it in there. But also, as somebody's lived here for 15 years, I can tell you, and I asked a couple of people, I've never even paid attention to the signs, period. I wasn't thinking, other than I'm sure the tenants over there, nobody wants to lose their sign, right? But other than that, I'm looking for good real life with it.
Yeah. You know, there's a perfect spot right underneath that AT&T sign that looks like a, perfectly sized proportion. I know you're planning for some additional tenants to get into that building. And by the way, back up to the very beginning of this, we're excited that, Cabot's growing and we're excited to get more retail. And that's a great, win-win for Cabot for sure. So.
But let me mention
that we're trying to work with you here to make this.
So underneath AT&T, if we block it again, it's a visual issue for cars coming up and down the road. So that was our concern. Once you start blocking that off, as you're pulling out that driveway, you're not going to see what's coming either way. I think we're at the very end of where we could actually put that sign, the big one where it is. And that was our concern. I sure don't want to get into the middle of blocking some visual for a car trying to pull out or a stack of cars, being able to see traffic coming either direction.
Good point. Yeah, good point.
That was my same thought on if you did a monument base. I would also have concerns about visibility. Sorry. Hi, I'm here. Apologize. I popped in just a few minutes late. I'm sorry.
So Courtney, what I would do, can I explain what she's asking right there? Courtney's asking is we would only do maybe a 2-foot wall, create a wall landscape area at the bottom, and you'd have to be very cognizant of what you put in that landscape area. It could not be anything that would grow up and block that visibility at all. It's really trying to make them look like they're one sign. That's why I was thinking we could wrap something around the bases of those to create a look for that, for the main pylon sign to the center overall.
Right. So I'm gonna sketch something here on the pad.
Okay.
with these tenants, do you have in the lease agreement that they have X amount of square footage for a off-premise sign?
Okay, are you talking about the existing ones or the new one?
The existing.
Yeah, the existings, they are in leases now that they were giving a certain square footage on the main pylon sign at the beginning.
I know Chad's over there sketching, but I think, you know, what point we stop is, yeah, more square footage in the parking lot, another strip mall. You know, then no one can come back with another sign that's in the regulations where we're moving. I say, and when I come into this meeting, I didn't realize the same owner was on the development. So I would say real easy, take that sign, widen it up, it's already there, add your new tenants in it.
The current one.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Break it apart, you know, basically you have to redo the sign.
Right. That's what I thought would make the most sense. I mean, it's the same, it's under Rockwood Plaza. It just, the same identifier. I know if you put something adjacent to it, it's probably gonna look a little bit tacked on, but other
Y'all are saying that he would need to, in this variance, he's asking for a variance of two things. One, for 2 off-site premise signs, as well as to exceed the square footage of an on-premise sign. So in essence, y'all, not changing the variance, but y'all are wanting to still let him exceed the square footage of his existing sign. To add to.
Right.
He would still exceed.
Square footage is wide the sign that we have now, it should be a statement of square footage. You wouldn't have to go as wide as that is. Take the scale that we have in that, widen it a little bit, fit them all in there.
It'll still exceed the square footage regardless, like the existing sign.
Right.
It exceeds the square footage in the area of the sign. Yes,
Yes.
so if he adds anything to it, it's still gonna exceed the square footage.
Right.
So that's in essence still part of the
Right.
variance that he's asking for.
Right. I don't want to speak for the commission, but is everybody in favor of letting them exceed the sign size? But I think it's probably the delivery of what does it look like?
As long as it all goes together with one big sign. You know, it's like adding a third vertical beam to that, you know, and building off of that. I mean, we're gonna end up with a jungle of signs everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I would say widen the sign, figure out what aesthetic, you know, that looks good, widen the sign. And it's not nothing to do problem, but where do you go in the future with how many signs you put? Or, you know, another business puts up behind them, you put another sign up.
Right. So Laura, seeing how the commission's leaning, do we need to vote on the variance,
Stated specifically.
but with maybe some follow-up on seeing a different option or a new design that allowing the variance, but seeing a different option on design? Yeah, or table the motion. What's that?
Well, and if he's planning on adding additional rental spaces, he should take in consideration those also
Yeah, the future ones too.
for the future ones, so that we don't come up with this issue again with an additional sign.
Right. Okay. So
That being said, Rodney, I've never looked at that sign before and I still go shop.
It actually, it was muddled a little bit. What was that again?
He said,
That being said, I've never looked at that sign before, but I still go shop at all those places.
Mm-hmm.
so Rodney, here in the direction the commission or the Board of Adjustments having, just want to make sure, do you want to table this until we can work out a different design? Or do you want us to vote on the variance as it's presented?
Okay, so number one is, can we vote on the size of the sign? So when I go back for designing it again, okay, let me also mention, your drawing makes sense. Don't get me wrong, what you're trying to accomplish there. I think the thing is, I'll have to have another pole somehow. Put the poles that are in place now are not designed to carry the additional wind load if I attach to that one pole, okay? That's my first issue. I'd have to put another pole some way as close as I can to that, that will carry that load, that wind load. And if that's a design, then we can go back to the drawing board for that and see what that does.
And don't take my sketch as this is the Board of Adjustment.
No, I get that.
Direction. This was just an idea generator. But it sounds like everybody's saying, take the existing sign, modify it to make it fit with all the new tenant spaces as well as the pet supplies.
Well, now when
But
you talk.
I think agreement of the variance request, and I think that sounds amenable. And we can go ahead and vote on waiving the variance or giving the variance for signage size, and then just come back with a follow-up, getting a solid design down.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. If we can vote on the additional square footage that we're trying to add, as well as the height may vary a little bit, only because if we do something close to what you're talking about, we may be able to widen it out, equal the width, and do those signs that way. It's just going back to a sign company and see what they can do.
Right. Okay.
And then if I can't utilize an existing pole that's already up, we'll have to put a second one somewhere next to the existing one for the wind loads.
All right. I think we're saying the same thing. So let's go ahead and get a vote from the commission. So do I have a motion to approve the sign variance for area and height, but contingent on the final design as submitted by the applicant and approved by staff?
So
Motion from Commissioner Ward. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Mowdy. Roll call, please.
Lowe,
yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mowdy.
All right, the variance is approved. Thank you, Rodney.
Hey, thank you guys. I appreciate it. When do I submit that new design to Laura and she can look at it and then present to you? Is that what you need me to do?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
That's the right path. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
I appreciate it.
Uh-huh.
All right, we're going to adjourn the Board of Adjustment meeting and move into Planning Commission. How did I end up there? Huh, okay. All right, so we'll go ahead. It's 7:23. We'll open the public hearing portion of the Planning Commission meeting. Kim, if you would, let's go ahead and read on A.
Rezone, part of the southeast quarter, southwest quarter, section 19, Campground Road, R1 to R4M, Bond Engineering.
All right. Either Courtney or Laura, you want to flip for it?
I'll just continue through with them.
Okay.
This rezone was brought to us last month, that Mr. Aaron Robinson with Bond Engineering brought to y'all on Campground Road. He proposed to rezone it from an R1 to an R4M. We had discussion on it last month and brought up the discussion on whether to downgrade the zoning to a lesser intensity. I'll let Aaron speak on to that. We also discussed about the location of where the private drive would come out on campground. In the report, you'll notice that he did supply a new sketch that did put some curvature into the street to make it, in essence, a better intersection. It does now come out directly across from Wilson Street. Granted, this is just a sketch and not a site plan or anything right now. We're just looking at for a rezone. So if Aaron wants to speak on it, on what he has from his side of it, he can as well. I do want to caution you, I should have let you all know this in the beginning before we started. Since we had the ice and snow, our offices were closed a lot last week. So we were not able to get the revised packets back out to the staff from the applicants, because the applicants, as well as the engineers, were not in their offices as well. So we do have a lot of items that have outstanding items. They're not necessarily, as of today, outstanding. It's only because we've not been able to let staff address the comments. So I do want to let y'all know that on all these items tonight. So Aaron wants to.
Okay. Thanks, Laura.
Go ahead and speak.
Aaron?
Yes, thank you all. This is the piece of property that we talked about last month. I have talked with my client and we've looked at it. I've talked with Laura about it. We do not have a problem if it makes everybody better to go to a lesser zone, which is the R2. I did put, and it's not up there, but I did put the road directly across from Wilson, just so you could see how many units would still be on there. We actually lose one duplex, which, I mean, it's just, there you go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is what it is by trying to line up against Wilson Street.
So Aaron, I know this is a rezone, but just out of curiosity, what size footprint of these houses or duplexes plan to be?
The duplexes,
They two-story?
They are two-story. We had a sketch, an architectural sketch that y'all should have had last month. I don't know if it's in this PowerPoint presentation still or not, but it's two stories. They actually have garages, which will, if you look at the drawing, that's the white piece in between. So they'll actually have a garage. They're 35 feet deep, and I do not remember how wide they are.
Okay, is that it?
Living quarters above those garages?
Yes, sir.
All right. Questions from the commissioners?
I've got a question for Aaron.
Hey.
Hey, if, you know, the land on the right's in the development, right?
Yes.
So, and I know you got the circle drive there, obviously for fire trucks to turn around.
Correct.
Why can't you stub out and maybe make a corner to the right for future development? At the same time, that top left corner, will they not allow you to put another duplex?
Well, so back in the back, there's a ditch that goes through there, and it's, you can kind of see the floodplain starts encroaching up there. So the soil turns worse. There's just a lot of extenuating circumstances as to why we stopped it where we stopped it at, just to try and stay away from the floodplain, try to stay away from more undercut, try to stay away from bigger footings, just more issues. With it being a private drive, the reason that I didn't stub it to the right, plain right, east, is because if we stubbed it and he doesn't purchase any more of that property, then you've got a private drive going on to someone else's property. If he purchases that property, we can always tie into the cul-de-sac, take part of it out, and turn it on to the east. But it won't, since it's not a public street, that's why it's dead end.
Any other questions, Commissioner? All right, is that it, Aaron?
That's it.
Thank you.
Anybody have any other questions?
Why R4 rather than 2?
Why are we going to R2?
Yeah.
Wow, 4 instead of,
You're going to.
Well, no, I mean, we're fine with going to R2 as we discussed last time. We left everything R4 because that's the way it was advertised in the paper. And so even though it's a lesser zone, you can approve a lesser zone without having to re-advertise. But we left everything in R4M since that's the way it was actually advertised and presented last time. Where if y'all would like to go to a lesser zone, which still, the R2 still approves the duplexes. I think the only thing it changes is instead of 40% coverage, you can have 35% coverage, which this will still meet. So we're fine with an R2 zone.
You
Okay.
consider doing that?
Yes, sir.
okay. Thanks, Aaron.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone here to speak against this item? All right, seeing none. Commissioners, do you have any other questions? Any comments about the R4M to R2? Any discussion about that?
R2, because of the single family dwellings around it.
Yeah. So we could approve this as an R2 if the commission would rather do that.
Location of the drive, how is that tied to the zoning or is that just?
The location of the drive, staff's okay with the alignment of it. I think it is still a little bit closer as far as the distance from another adjacent drive.
Yeah, this is approved without a plan. The alignment of the drive change or can't change or?
This is strictly a sketch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can review that at site plan. To what? Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody, please touch your microphone. Just push it in whenever you talk. So make sure you have to hold it in while you talk. So Kim can hear the meeting minutes. So do I have a motion based on that conversation either way?
I'll make a motion to approve R2.
Got a motion from Commissioner Prater to approve as an R2. Have a second? Second from Commissioner Byrd. Roll call, please. I put him on mute.
Love,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mounty,
Yes.
All right. Rezoning is approved as R2. Aaron, thanks. Next item of business here in the public hearing, still item B.
rezone 801 through 906 Eagle Street, R1 to R4, single family, engineering.
Okay, and I'm going to recuse myself from any discussion on this item. I'm going to let Vice Chair Prater do the sort of talking on this and passing it back and forth and making the final vote. So I'm going to sit back.
Okay. Laura, comments?
Okay, this is a rezone from, an R1 to an R4 single family. This, you may remember a couple of months ago, we had looked at this, at the end of Eagle Street. Originally, I think they had brought it to do an R4. If I can vaguely remember, they were wanting to do duplexes. Y'all actually approved it. He took it to council. The city council asked him to step back because he got some opposition from the surrounding property owners. So the owner and the developer, listened to the surrounding property owners and actually started back over, and they've decided to build single family homes now. So now they have decided to go from R1 to R4 single family though. So they provided a sketch, engineering did a sketch up for them. Here again, this is another, just a rezone with a sketch of what they're planning on doing. So I believe the applicant is on the Zoom call with us.
Yeah, Chuck.
If it's Josh, I can't
Chuck
see
Sam
him.
is on the Zoom call.
Yes. Sam on this call.
Sam, he's the applicant. He's on the.
Sam, are you on the call with us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So I can let Sam, if you got any questions for me, or I can let Sam take it over and
Does anybody from the
see if there's any
commission?
questions.
Anybody from the commission have questions for Laura?
You push your mic down when you talk real loud, outside voice.
Okay, Sam, go ahead.
Yes. She explained everything in great detail. That's exactly what we're doing. We listened to what the neighborhood around us desired, and we changed. We wanted to do duplexes in the beginning. Nobody complained until the second meeting at the council. We listened, I talked to them, and then at the third reading, there wasn't any complaints, and I wasn't really in full understanding of that meeting, but I pulled it back. We're bringing it back. It's single family homes. Everybody I've talked to, there's no complaints. So that's what we're doing this for.
So I'm a little confused there. Are we going from an R4 to an R1?
Off the way.
It's an R4. I'm reading.
We're going
R4
from-
medium, that's multifamily,
We're going from an R1 to an R4.
single family.
Single family.
Correct, single family.
Why would you need to change the zoning to an R4 if you're going to build a single family?
Very,
The only thing about putting it at an R4 is those plans could change. And anything that goes into an R4,
That's why I've strictly put on here that it is R4 single family. The reason that they didn't stay with the R1, because R1 requires your lot size at your building line to be 75 feet. In an R4 for single family, they can go down to 50 foot.
am I still on?
Yes.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. If we would have stayed with the R1, 75-foot lot line would have limited us. We're having to do a lot of additional work to address water issues. We went to the R4 to get a smaller house and a couple more of them, which would make up for the difference. Instead of having 35 to 50 duplexes, we're only going to have 20 houses. So there's just a small variance there. And we're not asking for the multiple, an R4M or anything else. We're just asking for R4 single family. There will be no changes. Be 20 lots, just like we drew it.
Okay. Is there anybody here wants to speak for or against it? Okay, if not, any comments from the commission?
And just out of curiosity, what was the complaint of the city council? I guess I didn't see that part.
Well, it wasn't necessarily the city council, it was the residents surrounding the property. Originally, he was proposing duplexes,
Right.
and the residents around him, around this property did not want duplexes.
I just thought there were too many people there, I guess.
They just said they didn't want duplexes in their backyards.
Anything else? Okay, if not, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval from an R1 to an R4 single family dwelling.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Okay, have a first and second. All in favor, let's have a roll call vote.
Lowe,
Yeah.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Rowdy,
Yes.
Okay, approved, and with that, I'll turn it back over to the chairman.
Thanks, Chuck. Appreciate it. All right. Sorry, guys. I wasn't doing my job flipping through the images. All right, next item of business, Kim.
rezone part of the south half, section 19, South Pine Street, R1 to C2, Lemons Engineering.
Laura.
All right, this is another rezone. This property may look familiar to you because last month, Mr. Lemons, we had on the agenda a preliminary plat that included half an acre behind this property, but he tabled the item because we needed a rezone before he would do the preliminary plat, which the preliminary plat in essence is further down on the agenda. This is half an acre behind the, everybody may well know where Pea Farm Bistro is and in Nutrition World. This is directly behind the building, half an acre that they are purchasing and wanting to rezone it to C2 in order to build a commercial parking lot. Currently, right now, it is zoned R1, and in regulations, you cannot put a commercial parking lot on an R1 residential property. So this is the reasoning behind that they're coming before for the rezone to C2. Mr. Lemons, I'm leaving here to where if y'all have any questions, he can answer anything. There is a sketch that he did provide that we added there.
All right, thanks, Laura. Mr. Lemons.
I would like y'all to gaze upon the beauty of that sketch. Desperate times call for desperate measures. That was drawn on my kitchen table back during the snowmageddon of last week. But I believe it does illustrate what we're looking at doing. In essence, the facility that is there has several small businesses, and parking has become somewhat of a premium. They need additional parking, as much for their employees as it is for their customers. So we are presenting this plan to you. I have with me tonight Ms. Kathy Gould and her husband Bill, and if there's any questions that I cannot answer, I'm sure they will try to help. But this is 87 foot wide by 250 foot strip of property that they are purchasing, and that purchase is contingent on the rezone of this property. And so I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Mr. Lemon, once this does develop, I think the requirements for between residential and commercial would require some type of buffer or fence between the two zoning, between R and C.
As far as along the west side of this, we will address that at the site.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Anybody here to speak against this item? All right. Commissioners have any questions?
I have a question. I know this is, will be addressed at the site plan, but on that, egress to get back to that parking lot, there's only 10 foot.
Well, actually, yes, but we're working with the property owner to the south to be able to come off of their parking lot, because of the front, the two parking lots are going to join. So this actually, if everything comes to fruition, this is going to benefit not only that business, but also the business in the south. Of course, it's still a work in progress. We do have a lot of things to work out, but again, that will be at the site plan.
Be more like a shared access easement kind of thing. Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? Entertain a motion. Motion from Commissioner Lowe. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Ward. A roll call, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mowdy.
The rezoning is approved. Thank you, Mr. Owens. All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:43, but I'm going to switch the agenda around just a little bit. And if there's community input, I thought we might go ahead and let this be a good segue for, since we're in between a couple projects, rezonings to getting into new business items. Does anybody have any community input? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and dive into old business, item number 7. First one is a replat. Kim?
Replat, lot 5R, H&L subdivision, Lemons Engineering.
All right, Laura?
Okay, we're pretty much just kind of looking at the same piece of property that we just looked at for the rezone. This is a replat to add this half acre to the existing lot that's already platted. Again, as I addressed previously in the meeting, there appears to be some outstanding items that we have not been able to get with the other staff members to see if items have been addressed. So I don't see that there are any outstanding items that cannot be worked out between staff and the applicant.
Commissioners, have any questions? I think if we approve, we just need to make sure we're contingent on staff comments getting addressed.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Our motion for Commissioner Mowdy, second. Second, Commissioner Ward. Roll call, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mowdy.
Yes.
All right, new business. Kim?
Preliminary plat, lots 1 and 2, Cabot, Apostolic Church, AECB LLC.
Laura, you want to read the staff report for us?
All right, this is a preliminary plat for the Cabot Apostolic Church that is located at the corner of Kerr Station and Highway 321. They originally had submitted to our office a site plan to add an addition to their church. And that was at the time where we had addressed and let them know that they needed to plat this in order to get a building permit to build this addition onto the church. So they have come back with all the plans to do that. This is a big piece of property. They divided it into two parcels. One will be on the corner of Kerr Station and 321, and then lot 2 will exist where the existing church is all the way to the west of their property line. We do have some outstanding items with them as well. I don't think there are anything that is too much issue with my office as far as staff wise that I don't think we can address, not take care of with the applicant as well. And I believe the applicant is here with us and they can speak on anything that y'all might have questions on or anything beyond that.
Okay, does the applicant want to come up and address anything or tell us funny jokes or anything like that? Hello. Oh, your name?
Brian Robertson, AEC, general contractor.
Okay. Anything else that Laura didn't mention that you want to add to the
I don't
discussion?
think so. I mean, it's pretty, overall, it's fairly simple, it's the property they already own, and we're just essentially recutting out in the asphalt parking lot and putting the Spain Life Centers. Space a little bit between them, but technically it'll be connected to the building.
Okay. We'll probably have some more questions for you as we get into that item. It'll come up later on the agenda, but all right. Anything else?
What about, and this may be something outside of the meeting, but applying for a grading permit, at what point would we be able to look at that? Okay.
Any commissioners have questions for the applicant or for Laura?
So right now, we're looking at just the replat.
Just the replat, that's right. Yeah, the site plan will come up next item. It would entertain a motion to approve. Motion to approve from Commissioner Prater. Second, Commissioner Mowdy. Roll call, please, Kim.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Byrd,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mowdy.
Yes.
Great. The preliminary plat is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Or have you come back up here in a little bit here. Laura?
Site plan, lot 2, Cabot, Apostolic Church, AECB.
Okay, this is the site plan that's gonna go along with the preliminary plot that you just looked at. In the packet, they did supply, the engineer did supply, in essence, two site plans. One is just an overall site plan of both lots, and then the second one was a closer version of where they're actually doing the construction at. They're proposing an addition to their existing church, which is gonna, the proposed addition is 100 by 120 feet. So in essence, that's why that you're seeing this one. It exceeds the square footage that staff can approve for a site plan at staff level. Again, just like the previous one, there are a few outstanding items that staff will need to address with the applicant to make sure that they are understanding some of the items that need to still be addressed. But overall, this is just a standard site plan for them to build an addition to their church.
Laura, did the fire department have a chance to review the site plan and look at fire access? And
I think Bobby Becker's here, he can. Fire department wise.
Bobby, could you give us your comments? Sorry. Okay. My magic wand.
We're going to get this, I don't forget it later. Access, we have no issues with access. We have access 360 around the building. The only comments that I was not sure that we had fully addressed was The new building, the proposed building will be a sprinkler building. There is a.
Oh, it is? It
Yes.
is proposed. Okay.
There is a new hydrant that was placed on the, I guess that would be the west drive or the drive on the left of the picture in front of the proposed building. Code says that any new structure, commercial structure, has to have a hydrant within 400 feet of the building. Then I had asked that the existing hydrant be shown, which I don't believe I ever got to see. And I was going to do a measurement from that existing hydrant to the building to make sure that it met the 400 feet. In addition to the FDC hydrant, which is the new hydrant shown on the page.
Bobby, one question I had was proximity and adjacencies between the two buildings. Looks like it's 12 feet and it's not connecting.
Yes, it is connecting. Actually, I believe there's a breezeway there, and the sprinkler system does cover that breezeway.
Okay.
If I remember the plan right.
Is the existing church sprinkled?
No.
So is there going to be fire doors that would separate the uses between the church and the recreational
There should be
facility?
doors there, and like I said, the corridor that would connect the two buildings, if I remember right, looking at the sprinkler plans had heads in that connection.
Okay. And the type of construction is appropriate for the size and use?
Yes.
Well, I'm assuming this is going to be wood frame construction?
Steel.
All steel? Okay.
Steel bill studs and the mezzanine has a mezzanine and it is all concrete and steel.
Okay, so we're type 2.
Yeah, we're
Type,
good.
type 2
We're good on that
construction.
part.
Okay, good.
So my only concern was our hydrant distances on our 400 feet from our new construction. Like I said, in addition to our 100-foot hydrant, which is located on the plan for the FDC.
Okay, we'll make sure that's one of the contingencies. Great, thank you, Bobby. Does anybody have any questions for Bobby? Laura, did water have any comments? Or is water here?
The only comment that the water department had was about the signed developer agreement, and I believe that they previously signed a developer's agreement, so we just have not gotten with the water department to make sure that developer's agreement still is okay with them.
Okay. All right, thanks, Laura. Any questions from commissioners?
Comment.
Yep.
I'll say comment. It's exciting during this time to see churches adding on right now, you know, it's pretty cool. But I do also have a question. Did we discuss the parking, taking up half the parking spots? Y'all added on?
Yeah, Laura mentioned that to me earlier today, that they're still above the minimum requirements. And I'm assuming we'll get approved landscape plan too that meets up to the landscape ordinance for the portion of new work.
Yes, all that's been, they submitted site plan, grading plan,
Okay.
landscape plan, utility plan.
Great.
That's all within the comments.
Okay. Any other comments?
Does this have to conform to our commercial standard? This building?
They are meeting it.
And they do? Okay, good, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve from Commissioner Ward. Second from Commissioner Mowdy. Roll call, please.
Lowe,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Bird,
Yes.
Prater,
Yes.
Mowdy.
Yes.
Let me just make sure I clarify that. It approved based on staff comments as well as Bobby Hefner's. I promise I'm as still as I can be. Sorry about that, everybody. If we can just make that caveat that is based on the hydrant distance and the other staff comments. No, just, is everybody in favor of that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, let's go ahead to the next item.
Final plat, Lakewood subdivision, phase 2A, lots 71 through 99, Jim Green.
All right, Laura.
All right, as y'all remember, this final plat was brought to us, I believe, back in October. We do have a staff report within the packet. There is not any revision to the staff report that we supplied back in October, except that we did just add a revision date to make it current to tonight's meeting. Mr. Green is here to speak on it. There are still some outstanding items with the final plat. So at this point, if y'all have any questions for me, I can answer them. If not, then I'm gonna step and let Mr. Green.
All right, Mr. Green.
I'm here at your disposal, Jim Green. Where do we start?
So you're back.
There's quite a bit of information that I made available to Laura that's not in your package, but I do want to make sure that it gets in the record.
You're talking about the packet that we received information.
I submitted maybe 40 pages and and you see what you have. And it's a lot of it was probably redundant, but I just want to make sure that, and I think Laura has, that you have it now, even though it was not in your packet.
So we're here to talk about final plat for the subdivision. Before we dive into the details, Mr. Green, I'd like to ask Mr. Hooper about the status of the annexation. I believe last time we met, Mr. Green was, he was going annexed. He may, if you would come over here, Mr. Green, if you'd let him have the mic for a minute so Kim can hear on the recording.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. There was a little litigation in regards to the annexations. We've been here last, just by way of background. Annexation was brought by Mr. Green's petition to the county and went up to the city council and was approved by all parties. Mr. Green then filed in circuit court to challenge his own annexation. That went to circuit court and has been dismissed. So there is no current challenge. I spoke with his attorneys. The attorneys and I have come to an agreement that we won't take any action on that while all this is pending. Either way, that the annexation itself shouldn't, or any litigation shouldn't affect you guys in your decision very much. Treat it just like you would anything else. I know that he has retained attorneys. I've spoken to those attorneys. I kind of thought they would be here tonight. Obviously, it's your choice if you want to go forward without them. I always recommend that people hire attorneys, utilize those attorneys, but that is your choice. But as far as the annexation goes, there was some litigation. That litigation has been resolved. But either way, you guys treat it like you would anything else.
So the final outcome, it is still annexed?
Yes.
Okay.
As of right now, the circuit court case challenging the annexation has been dismissed. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ben. Appreciate that. So last time we talked to Mr. Green, this is a final plat review. One of the biggest hurdles that we had was access, fire department access, having two ways in and out of the subdivision, knowing that we've already exceeded the current number of lots. And then we're adding, this phase 2 and then we get phase 1B. So continue to add further lots. And I think the issue was to try to find available land for you to have some second way out. And I saw that in your information that you sent us. You have some land to the east that'll tie back to Highway 321 and provide a second way out. Is that a for sure thing? Is that something that's?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not sure how, Ben, you may help us on this too. That land isn't owned, or we don't have any type of design for what a secondary access would be on that at this point, right? I mean, right now it's just, there's an assumed agreement. Is that correct?
There is an option to purchase a
50-foot right of way, not exact location between all the way to 321, yes.
But we don't have a design yet, a roadway design,
No.
land is under your ownership or?
I was trying to comply with the planning commission comments of, I don't know, September, October.
Right.
That asked me to obtain the right of way, or to get an option, basically something more than what I had was the comments that I was trying to adhere to.
That's right. And I think you're on the right path. I think that the next step though is to actually get a design, get that in place. I mean, for a final plat approval, our requirements in the UDC are we need to have streets and sidewalks in and curb and gutter and street lights and, you know, all these things done for the final plat approval. Now, there have been some projects we have approved those contingent on the final asphalt paving, final streetlights being put in. I think you're on the right path of getting there. It's just that you need to take the next step.
I think you all have a copy of the fire code we're discussing. Do you?
Don't have it right at my fingertips, but.
The code says that you have to have a plan for the access, and that's it. It's not, well, that's where it stops. It's one sentence that says you have to have a planned access. Or a plan. And so, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm saying it doesn't say all these other things. It says a plan approved by the fire department.
Right. And for final plat approval, we have to have things a little more further developed for that approval to be done. I mean, Laura, Ben, somebody jump in and provide some guidance on that, but he's talking about, he has a plan of action, but we need a engineered design plan that shows access easements, shows right-of-way dedication. So where fire hydrants are going to be located, streetlights are going to be located, sidewalks. I mean, there's.
That's right. That's the requirement from UBC. Above and beyond that, even the base plan is a plan to this body's satisfaction. You know, if even take it apart from the UBC, if you're satisfied with this grade, if you're not, if you are requesting more before you put a plan to satisfaction, that's within your discretion.
Bobby, let me ask you for your opinion too. Have you seen the design, proposed design, and for?
Well, I have the same packet that y'all have, and I have a letter from retired Assistant Chief Mark Smart and what he talked about and his approval in the phase 1 and phase 2 with the stub out that didn't work out. But to be exact in the wording on what the code says, the word plan is never used. It says the number of dwelling units on a single fire apparatus access road shall not be increased unless the fire apparatus access road will connect with future development as determined by the fire code official. I applaud Mr. Green for his effort in obtaining the land and the right of way for that future development.
Right.
But my recommendation to the committee is until there's a drawing, an official Department of Transportation access to 321, and that be in the next phase. In my thought, the next phase after this one, or the next submittal after this plat that he's trying to get the final on. That's where we would, at that point, have him in the next plat after this one, have that access road in that plat showing the final access, the final location, hydrant placement, everything within that access point there. And that would be my recommendation recommendation to the committee.
Bobby, you're talking about after phase 2A
Well, he's
or
asking
after
for-
phase
Is this the
1B?
2A?
Yes.
Okay.
Because phase 2A is the,
I would have to go back and look at the letter that Mark Smart had written and the communications that they had to make sure that we were.
It's in that package, if you'd like to see it.
Yeah, I think I've got it here. But I believe he said that the final engineering plans subdivision, Lakewood subdivision phase 2 were being discussed by the planning commission, and those discussions needed for additional fire access road became an issue with Mr. Tim Lemons and discussed the alternatives. He and I mutually decided that planning a strict right of way would satisfy the planned emergency access per state fire code. Planning commission agreed and passed the preliminary plat, which would provide dedicated right of way of the city extending to the northern border of Mr. Green's land where it joined Mr. Freeland's southern boundary. So with that, this being part of that, and them putting that little stub out right here, which we had talked about last month, would probably never happen. So I think that's why Mr. Green decided to come up this way and give the 50-foot right of way and access to 321 in that direction. So with Chief Smart's letter talking about phase 2 and the preliminary plat that y'all had already, agreed to, in my opinion, and my recommendation is if y'all want to approve the final plat for what y'all have contingencies on, and then in my recommendation on any further development in the next development that he submits to the city beyond what he's asking for a final plat on today, would have to have that driveway completion, all the documents and everything to show ownership of the land, and in that next phase, that driveway will be completed. And then at that point, for future development, until he gets this done, we won't have this issue.
You're saying the next phase after this 2A?
After this, yes.
Because 2A, I mean, we're already beyond capacity based on state fire code.
Right, but with what him and Chief Smart had, agreed on, I mean, we can go back and forth if you want to. But if he is willing to buy this land and give us that right of way on any future development, and that be part of that next development that is completed and passable, drivable, and workable in that future development, we would look at that. But again, it's the commission's vote on the final.
As of right now, that option property has not been purchased. So the 50-foot street easement that he has access to right now does not attach to his subdivision as of yet. And the other one that stubbed out on Phelan's property never transpired. And he has up to 4 years to purchase, option to purchase the 16.9 acres. So what are we gonna do for 4 years if he doesn't purchase this property for 4 years as far as this phase that we're looking at right now?
Well, like I said, with the correspondence that he and Chief Smart had and the approval on the preliminary plat, again, it's still y'all's vote. We want that second way, whether it's this phase or the next phase. The point I was trying to make is we're not going to approve anything else. I'm not going to approve anything else until the land is purchased and that is part of the future development.
Well, Bobby, that's the way we felt after last meeting, was like, there's no way we're going to do this until we get another connection, because we're already over the capacity of number of units. I just think for health, safety, and welfare of citizens of Cabot and this area in Lakewood, 2 ways in and out it's a pretty big deal. I think it's a deal killer, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we want it to. It's just, like I said, after looking at the letter, I still want it. But looking at the letter and being approved, by the preliminary plat, again, it's y'all's vote. You can vote to, not approve this until he, does that. That's your you're given right. We still want that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that with what he's doing and trying to go for, on any future development, I'm not going to agree to any additional numbers or increase until that is completed.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Bobby. Yeah, I think that's the same way the commission feels is, I mean, until we have some assurances that the road is constructed, designed, engineered. I mean, I think, Mr. Green, we all feel like this is great. We're excited about, expanding the city here. I mean,
remember is I was trying desperately to comply with the city comments, planning commission comments of, I forget whether it was, and you may have September, October.
Right.
That told me you get the land or get an option. I forget what all the wording was that was in your comments.
the notes, yeah.
So I have tried to comply with what you asked for then.
And you're on the right path, sir, really. I mean, I think.
I've accomplished that.
Not to the letter of law that we as a body need.
I'm talking about the document that the comments. Does anyone have, I may have that.
Mr. Green, I chaired that last meeting, and we talked about that you were out of land. I mean,
No, I'm talking about specifically talking about the comments of the planning commission on this issue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, the Commissioner Prater chaired that.
That you needed to get it re-engineered. Now, when we get a final
That's
plat,
not what.
please let me finish. When we get a final plat, we don't just get this. We get something that has entrances and exits, and that's what we want to see before we approve it.
And highway department approvals and water department, I mean, there's a lot of hurdles that need to be done before.
Let me add this, and this is just a piece of information, and this was not in your package. I know that, I don't know, 20 or 30 communities in our city that are way out of compliance, much further than I am out of compliance. An example, Magnus Creek has about 200 to 300 lots on one side of the creek, 200 or 300 on the other side. Each one has a single entrance. That's just one example, but I've got, and if Laura gave you the information I have.
Yeah, we got it.
My point is, this is not an unusual situation. It's a rather common situation. It's all over your city that this particular rule of X number of houses and with single entrance has been ignored for 30 years.
Right.
And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it is. And I have, if you look at what stuff I gave Laura, these are, and I have gone through Google Earth and isolated those areas. And Laura, do they have?
We do. Yeah, Mr. Green, we have those.
Yeah. Now, what I'm addressing right now is the city comments, or the planning commission comments of, I don't know if it's, which month it is, but it was very specific on what you wanted me to bring to you this time or in the future. And it was.
Mr. Green, I think the next step is visit with Laura to see exactly what we need, because we need a little bit more than just a agreement option that I might purchase this property and I might have.
But my point is, that's what your comments told me I needed to get.
Well, that must have been in there, because I didn't share that, but that is.
It was like you get the land, get an option to purchase it, and those are, I'm not.
That sounds kind of loosey-goosey, but
Right, yes, but I'm saying those were the words. It didn't say you have to have a completed document, plans, whatever.
Laura's got the information.
This is my comment letter that I'm sure you're referring to. It says right of way or easement for a second access to Highway 321 must be acquired. If the right of way or an easement cannot be acquired prior to the November planning commission meeting, then a letter of intent from the adjoining property owner stating they will grant, sell, or donate the required land for a second egress to Highway 321 will be acceptable. A drawing showing the second access must accompany this information. The letter that you provide is an option to purchase.
Right.
So Laura, help me out here too. We also you need highway department approval for access back onto 321. We need engineering design drawings to understand basically
This
what that,
proposal of where he's showing this street, one is an easement, not a right of way. Two is through swamp land that we have to make sure that a street can be built on. And three, we have to make sure the highway department's going to grant you the access of where this proposed driveway could be.
But my point is, the words that she just used, I think I've complied with those words, meaning specific instructions, and they weren't specific. They basically said, give us something. I'm not saying you should or should not accept that, but that's all I had to go by, was what she just read.
Yeah.
And it didn't say, it just, again, a letter of intent to do this and that, or whatever. So that's.
I think we give it something, was, hey, yeah, that looks good, now let's make it happen before we give you a.
Right, but my point is, this was what was my understanding that I needed to do to get approval. It wasn't like, okay, this is step one. When I get a comment from you guys, I read it, I try to comply with it.
right.
I don't go beyond it. Like, what are you gonna do after you get this? I'm trying to give you this. And so that's what I'm
just
trying to
looking at
give.
the safety of the new houses that are going in, I want to make sure the fire department can get in there.
Granted, but at the same time, there are, I'm gonna say 30, 40, 50 subdivisions in your city
Sure.
that have 200 to 300 homes with a single access. I'm not saying that's right.
Again, I'm
just
Those
saying it is.
subdivisions are not here asking for final approval.
Pardon?
Those subdivisions are not in front of us asking for final
Granted,
approval. It's a big difference from what you're
it's
asking.
just a point of,
Yep.
it's just a fact.
So
We also discussed last time, talking to Will Phelan, we were hoping that you potentially could have access to where you could even work your way back into the exertion parking lot to where you wouldn't even have to get with the highway department to make an extra road into 321. We were trying our best at that time to say, have you spoken to Will Phelan? Have you discussed it? And so when we talked to you that day, we talked about, hey, getting access to where maybe we don't have to jump through as many hoops with 321. But ultimately, you chose to go to the east side instead of the west side, which we didn't discuss with you. But that also, you got to understand, when you do that, that creates a whole different set of problems because there is floodplain issues. There are, because it looks to us.
Floodplain issues across Phelan's property.
Do what?
Phelan's property is in the flood zone.
Well, it all is, and there's issues there. Phelan right now is building it up, but we're not on his side, on that west side, he's building it up right now for a new building and things of that nature. But what we're saying is, even if you go east side or west side, there's gonna be issues, but just to come and say, hey, I've got a right to do this, doesn't give us any details of what that looks like. And ultimately, he's trying to honor the previous chief, and I understand that, saying, hey, but we don't know, there's nothing to say that you build this and then just walk away from the whole thing.
Could I add that you're basing all of your conversations here on the fire code, is it correct? Meaning
Yes,
it's a fire issue. Now, the fire code, basically, where it says you have to have some plan, and as long as it's acceptable by the fire marshal, that's all it says. It says a plan that's acceptable by the fire marshal. Correct?
that's correct.
I mean, I'm just reading the
When
word.
you have a plan, you have to implement that plan.
But yes, granted, but I'm going in just as far as the code, exactly what the code says, not building up on it and adding to it, just the code. You have to have a plan that's acceptable by the fire chief, or the fire marshal, or the fire official, right? That's what that code said. It didn't say it has to be good to the planning commission, or it has to be good to North Little Rock, or whatever. It just has to be good to the fire marshal.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
that's correct, Mr. Green. And we're here to approve a final plat, which the final plat may be developed on the residential lot side, on your neighborhood side, but does not address the secondary egress other than a preliminary pencil sketch of we potentially could build a road through here and have access through there.
But my argument is, again, if we say that everything we're discussing now is the fire code, code number 625, let's say, whatever that code number is. If that's what we're hanging our hat on, that's all we've got. And if it's acceptable by the fire department, I'm assuming normally you accept recommendations of whatever. I mean, if the code says if it's okay with the fire marshal or the fire official, then it's okay. Is that true or false?
Yeah, that's true.
So
The fire official in the city is a local jurisdiction, have an authority that can make waivers on the
Chief Smart.
state code. That was a previous fire official, right, Bobby? That was a previous fire official. I would, Mr. Gray, hang on. I would want approval from the current fire chief.
And here's the current, and let's say he's not here 2 years from now. I've got to get permission of another one, so every time you change.
Whenever you submit it, yeah, whenever you're back before us, I mean.
My point is you can't negate, nullify what the previous fire marshal did and said, just because you've got a new one. Now, granted, Biden does some of that.
All right, Mr. Green, are you asking for a vote tonight?
Pardon?
Are you asking for a vote tonight?
Yes, sir, I've got to have it.
All right, let's go ahead and call for question of vote, motion on the table.
Let me,
Thank you, Mr. Green. I think we're just about asked all our questions. So let's go ahead and get to our vote. Commissioners have any other questions? Do you have a call for a vote?
I make a motion.
Got a motion to approve from Commissioner Prater. Second from Commissioner Lowe for final plat approval. Roll call, please.
Lowe,
No.
Ward,
No.
Bird, no. Prater,
No.
Mowdy.
All right. Final plat does not pass. So, Mr. Green, I'd recommend getting with Laura and Ben Hooper and discuss what the next step is. Next item is adjournment. A motion to adjourn. A motion to second. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Let me go ahead and get off our Zoom here. Thank you all for being here.